It is always a pleasure to be joined by former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker, who's coming off of a great win over Paulo Costa at UFC 298. Rob, how's it going? Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. I'm well.
Well, I appreciate you doing this early in the morning. I know it's hard to get those time zones, but I always appreciate every time I've talked to you, it's always been early in the morning. So I appreciate you doing this.
No, the pleasure's mine. I was telling you, I'm sorry I'm a little late because it's the morning rush, trying to get the kids ready for school, like eat your breakfast, put your shoes on, get dressed, do your hair. It's a nightmare.
No worries at all. And I heard your interview with Submission Radio. You were talking about battling the flu. I can hear it in your voice still a little bit. So how's that been?
Yeah, it sucks. It's like, yeah, it hasn't been fun. So generally after a fight, I have 2 weeks off where I can just go away with my family and, just enjoy their company and enjoy some time off. But this time I spent like the last 2 weeks in bed, and you can still, I'm over the majority of it, but you can still hear it in my voice, and like I'm still congested and everything. It's just the worst flu I've ever had. And I got it in the States, so I blame you guys. This is your flu. This is because of you.
Okay, so for those who don't know the backstory, when exactly did you catch the flu? This was about a week out from the fight week?
No, so I woke up with the flu on fight day. It was fight day. I woke up and had a sore throat, was getting chills and like, I was like, I can get sick tomorrow. It is what it is. And then everyone knows, like, day one of the flu is not the worst day. So got through the fight, did all that, jumped on a plane the next day, flew home. By the time I landed and got home, it had set in and I was a mess, an absolute mess.
So hang on, what was fight day like? It must have been a nightmare.
It wasn't too bad, honestly. Like it's fight day, adrenaline's gone through the roof. And like I said, none of the major symptoms had set in yet. It was mainly just like I had like an annoyingly sore throat and this weird little cough. So maybe Costa got it. Like, yeah.
At least wasn't one of those Rockhold Costa like ground interactions, right? You didn't get one of those.
I know. He's probably like at home like coughing now. He's like, where did I get this cold from?
Well, it was a great win, and you came into fight week with, not that you don't come in with bad intentions. We know how you fight, but the things you were saying, you saying I want to hurt Costa. I know the Drakkar sauce didn't sit well with you. Was it more about that or something to do with Paulo himself?
No, it definitely has nothing to do with Paulo himself. Like I said, none of my fights are personal. This is a business we're in, and like I take a lot of honor out of the fights. It was more about just priming my mindset to get in there and do what needs to be done, because I think it's very easy to fall into that it's a sport. And because I do understand it's a sport and we're doing a sport and we're athletes, and it takes away that level of primalness, that level of violence, which fighting is, and I guess I had to kind of just bring some of that back to just really, I don't know, bring the dog out of me a bit.
And, there were a lot of question marks with Paulo Costa. Was he going to show up to the fight? He even joked about it. He's like, what were the betting odds? He was talking about it during fight week. I know you said leading up to the fight you weren't concerned, but now that the fight happened, was part of you at all concerned that this fight may have not happened?
No, I wasn't concerned at all. Obviously, with his track record, I brought this, and especially his track record against me, right? So I brought this up with the UFC, and I told him, like, this is like the third time I think we're supposed to fight. Well, do I have any insurances that, I'm going to make a living? I'm going to earn bread this fight, because every time he's pulled out, I don't get paid, and that doesn't. It's not that it affects me; it affects my family. And so I brought that up to the UFC, and they assured me I was fighting someone on that date. So I just had to get myself ready and show up.
And the other question mark, I believe, is what version of Paulo Costa we were going to get. Because when Paulo's on, he's very dangerous. We've seen that in the Yoel Romero fight. And then he had like that skid, the Adesanya fight's a title fight. I know he froze up a little bit. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Marvin Vettori, there was the whole weight thing. It ended up being at 205. He ended up looking very good in that fight. But were you surprised at all? What version of Paulo were you expecting?
Yeah, so I guess if you would have heard a lot of my interviews fight week, and I kept mentioning, like, I prepare myself for the best version of my opponent. So I was preparing for the best version of Paulo Costa. I was expecting that Romero Costa that came in, and better. And unfortunately, he brought his A game. He brought the best version of himself. Like I say, I'm preparing for the best, but I hope I get the worst Paulo Costa, right? Like I hope I get like drunk, falling over, overweight, injured Paulo Costa. But no, in my opinion, I got the best version we've seen of him. I thought that was his best showing for sure. And yeah, it was a good fight. I think the fans really enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it, being in there and just putting my skill and pitching my skills against him.
I mean, in the aftermath now, it's sweeter, right? That you got not a ring rust Paulo. I know you talk about that, but now looking back, the fact that you got, like, it makes the win sweeter, no?
Oh, definitely. Like I've mentioned this before. Like I really enjoy honorable fights, hard fights, and entertaining fights that the fans love, and they can be like, man, that was an amazing fight. I take a lot of pride out of those, and I take a lot of pride out of beating Paulo Costa this time.
I gotta ask you about the spinning wheel kick. It connected. How hurt were you when he landed that?
Nah, not that much. It's no, it was the best shot of the fight for him, and it was there's lots of different types of getting rocked and stuff like that. There's like the type where you get hit, and then you're on your butt and you're like, don't even remember getting here, and then you get back up, sort of thing. And then there's the type where you get hit, it's a solid shot, but you're with it, like you're still engaged, but your legs have been like, ooh, that was sketchy. Don't take too many more of them. It was that type of shot. Okay. I don't know if I explained it well enough just then, but that's how it is. And honestly, by a few seconds after the shot, I was punching back. So I knew, like, I was there the entire time. And then obviously when the round finished, I regathered my wits about, like, I was 100% moving into that second round. And I think that discouraged him, because he saw the look in my eyes when I was standing opposite him moving into that second round, and he knew, like, it didn't do anything to me, and I want more.
Well, it was a great fight. Didn't get fight of the night, which was surprising. I mean, Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Lemos was a great fight, but did you guys get taken care of on the side at least?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't, not as of yet. I've heard that there was we might be getting something, but I'm not of yet. I thought it would have been fight of the night. I will say that those girls had an amazing fight. It was one of the better fights I've seen in a while, and congratulations to them. But come on, man, like, I fought my heart out there. It was sick to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they take care of you guys, because it was a very entertaining fight, an amazing performance from both of you guys. But of course, you were the better man that night. Also, in your interview with Submission Radio, you had mentioned that Sean Strickland would be a logical next fight. He said, "Quote me, don't quote me," but he is a logical next fight at the end of the day. You mentioned rumors of Australia or Perth, excuse me, yeah, Perth, Australia in August. Are you willing to kind of wait for that card? Is it important for you to be on that card, or it doesn't matter to you?
No, I'm certainly happy to wait till August for that fight, for that card. I love the idea of fighting in Australia. It's been too long. It really has. And I owe Perth a fight anyway. And I think logically the timing is good. I could probably push earlier if I wanted to, but I don't see it any problem than to let myself rest and recover, let my head settle down a little bit before jumping back in there.
And yeah, when we look at the rankings, it seems like Drakkar and Adesanya is what's going to happen next. You've beat Jared Cannonier, you've beat Marvin Vettori. Brendan Allen's fighting Marvin Vettori. Speaking of Brendan Allen, I know he had expressed interest in fighting you this past November, I believe. You were kind of dismissive of it. He is now booked to fight Marvin Vettori. That's in April. If he does beat Marvin Vettori, would that fight interest you as a possible opponent?
I fight, the best of the best, the top of the food chain. If you're up there, our paths will cross, and that's just how it is. And you can see my record, and you can see the names that I've beaten. You can see the top 10 and the top 10 that was previous, and the top 10 that was previously the year before. I've always fought the best of the best, and yeah, I'm not going to change. Nothing's changing yet.
Yeah, that is very true. Your resume is absolutely stacked. And I want to talk about Sean Strickland a little bit. You said it's a logical next fight. I think that fight makes a lot of sense too. I don't know what his plans are for his next fight, but his coach, Eric Nixick, said he likes that fight as well. He had very high praise for you as well. Talked about your skill set, top to bottom. He said, arguably the most skilled fighter in the division. I don't know if you saw that, but Sean, he's coming off that loss to Drakkar. First of all, did you score that fight in favor of Drakkar?
I did. I thought it was, yeah, I was surprised that there was so much controversy afterwards. But, if they would have raised Sean's hand, I wouldn't have been outraged. It was a close fight. Both guys kind of were pushing into it. I just thought Drakkar looked like he wanted it more. He was just pushing forward. He was the aggressor. I thought he finished the rounds a couple of times with takedowns, which just highlights like a technical aspect and in the moment. So yeah, I thought he did enough to win, but like I said, it was close enough that if they would have raised Sean's hand, I'm not going to write a letter.
And what did you make of Sean's performance in general against Drakkar? He had that amazing performance against Adesanya. This was a back and forth close battle. What did you think of his performance?
I thought it was a Sean performance, right? I think that's how he fights. I think Drakkar did a really good job of pushing into him the entire fight so that Sean couldn't really get the ball rolling. Yeah.
And for you, I know every loss stings, but your goal is obviously to become champion again. Do you hope it's Drakkar? Does that particular loss sting maybe more than others, or is it just about getting the belt back?
It is just about getting the belt back. The goal never changes, and not for personal reasons anyway. But the idea that Drakkar has the belt, I can, get two birds with one stone, sounds pretty good.
What would you change differently if you were able to get that rematch with Drakkar?
Oh, everything. You saw my headspace moving into the last fight. That was a hard fight, and I was in there, and I beat Costa just on hunger. I beat him with just determination and grit, and that's what I feel I lacked most in the fight with Drakkar. So having that and the confidence of my past fight and the confidence that I can control my own headspace, yeah, everything's different.
He's not officially scheduled to fight Adesanya, but it seems like that Adesanya was talking about how Drakkar turned it down for UFC 300. It would have been a pretty quick turnaround for him. But if that is the fight, how do you see that one playing out between Drakkar and Adesanya?
Mate, hard to say. I think, like, obviously Adesanya is technically he's a amazing technical fighter, but Drakkar is hungry and he's tough. And I imagine that if we see him pushing forward for 5 rounds, just making it awkward, making it a dogfight, I would lean into him taking it. But I can also, it's not like I can't see Adesanya just keeping him on the end of those jabs and kicks for 5 rounds and winning via points. He's done it before.
You spoke about headspace when it pertains to you, but what about Adesanya? Because he did say he wanted some time off. I know he joked and he said 2027 and people ran with it, but this wouldn't be that crazy amount of time off if he did end up coming back at UFC 300. That would have been a regular turnaround. But do you feel like that would play a factor, the fact that he was talking about a hiatus, but here he is seemingly ready to go and it hasn't even been that long?
Okay, firstly, I don't care about Adesanya's headspace, right? Okay. Secondly, I didn't believe him the first time. Dude says this crap all the time. I'm going away. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this, but then does something else. Like, that's just the character he is, and the character on his socials. He does things like that. I don't even know if he wanted to go away for a long time. Obviously not, because he's back, right?
Right. So is it fair to say that for you, maybe Strickland would be the number one option? Because like I said, we just talked about the rankings and we went through the names. It's not like there are too many choices. Khamzat Chimaev is kind of out there. Would you entertain that fight?
Oh, mate, that's tricky because that doesn't move me. It does in Clout, but it doesn't move me higher up in the rankings. I don't know. I want to fight guys in the top 5. I want to, like, beating Strickland, puts me at 1 again, and that's as close as you can get, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sean had some things to say in the lead up. I'm sure you've heard it. He said, basically implying that you're one dimensional. Talked about your blitz. What did you make of his comments?
Oh yeah, pretty good at blitzing, Yeah, and everyone knows I do it. So I'm interested to see if he can do something about it as well. I'll blitz him. I'll blitz him as well.
So how do you lure Sean to come back to Australia? You think he'd be willing to fight you in Perth?
Oh yeah, he had a huge reception here in Australia. I'm sure the fans would love to see me and him cross paths here on home soil. And he, by all looks of it, I think he has fond memories of Australia, right? So I would think he would be up for it.
I think his no filter worked better in Australia than Canada, based off of reactions.
Definitely.
I think.
Definitely.
All right, Rob, I won't take up too much more of your time. I'll leave you with one last one. What would you say is kind of your main goal looking at your career? I was just listening to Chael Sonnen talking. He's like, I don't want to see Sean Strickland, Robert Whittaker eliminates a contender, but he did have very high praise towards you as well. He said, Rob, if there's anyone he can pick as a Hall of Famer, like no-brainer that isn't in it right now, it would be you. So what are your goals now moving forward in your career?
I'm going to win the belt back and then hang my laurels up. I'm going to win the belt back, hang up the boots, jump in the Hall of Fame, and just spend time with the family. I don't know, teach jiu-jitsu.
There you have it. Well, Rob, I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate you doing this so early in the morning when you have a lot of running around to do. So much appreciated. Congratulations again on the win, and feel better soon.
Thank you so much for having me.